Now we'll start digging into Einstein's theory of relativity. This is a theory that tells us a lot of fascinating and surprising things about the strange universe that we live in, so it's really worth digging into. Bad news is that little math is now required, but the good news is that you only need to understand the Pythagorean theorem, so it's not much math. It's quite simple, and I'll explain it very soon. I'm going to use quite some time in these videos so that it should be possible to hang along, and I think it's worth hanging along because we'll learn some really interesting things about the universe that we live in. If people then ask you, do you understand, do you know the theory of relativity by Einstein? And you can say, well, I know the basics, I know the main things. So understand the most important parts. That's what we'll be going through in these videos. We'll start then with the Pythagorean theorem, and if you know it well, then you can just skip the rest of the video. Otherwise, you can follow me to the next slide, where we'll have a look at this right-angled triangle. We see there's a right angle there, 90 degrees, two sides, the vertical and the horizontal line here with length 3 and 4. And then there's the slanting line that's called the hypotenuse, which has length 5. And what the Pythagorean theorem says is that if you take the length of the one right side here, length 3, if you multiply that length with itself, you square it, that's another name for it, and then you add that to the length of the other line, the other straight line, which has length 4 here, and you multiply that with itself, then those two sums will equal the length of the final line, the hypotenuse squared or multiplied with itself. So just looking at this example then, we see the horizontal line has length 3, and if you then multiply that with itself, you square it. 3 times 3, you get 9, and you add that to the length of the other line, which is 4. 4 times 4 is 16, so if we take 9 plus 16, that will equal the length of the last line, the hypotenuse squared or multiplied with itself. So 5 times 5 is 25, and we can see we have the calculations on the side here. This holds for then any such right triangle that on the two sides of that angle, if you square those lengths, multiply them with themselves, and then add them, that will equal the length of the last line squared. So here in this case then, 3 squared plus 4 squared is 5 squared. 3 times 3 plus 4 times 4 is equals 5 times 5, or 9 plus 16 equals 25. So if you understand that 9 plus 16 equals 25, and that the same would hold for all other triangles with that there will be this relation between the sides, then you understand what you need to understand in order to understand the basics of the theory of relativity. So check for yourself that you understand this, and then you'll be ready for moving on to the next videos.